Welcome back to Life Unlimited, the show where we dive deep into the real stories, real struggles, and the powerful breakthroughs that help us live our fullest lives. I'm your host, Nora Oliver, and today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us. She's bold, brilliant, and beautifully redefining what it means to turn adversity into strength. Please welcome Miss Massachusetts 2024, Kiersten Khoury, a 23-year-old Massachusetts native and proud graduate of High Point University, where she majored in entrepreneurship and minored in sales. But beyond the crown and the titles, Kiersten is a passionate advocate for and change maker. Through her community service initiative, Redefining Dyslexia, Turning Challenges Into Superpowers, she's helping people everywhere see their learning differences not as setbacks, but as stepping stones to greatness. Today, we're going to explore her journey, her mission, and the mindset that helped her rise to the top. You will not want to miss this, so let's jump right in. So Kiersten, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
First of all, congratulations on earning the crown and becoming Miss America, right? Miss Massachusetts.
Yes, thank you.
So I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Like, what inspired you to get into all of this? Like, how did you get there?
I actually started in pageantry really young. I started at 4 years old, and it all began with a postcard in the mail. My parents received a postcard and tried to throw it away, and I saw it first, and there was a young girl on stage wearing a crown and banner, holding a microphone with a big trophy, and I was just enamored. I wanted to do it. I begged and begged. They were kind of against it at first, but eventually they were like, if this is something you want to do, we'll support you. And I did my very first pageant at 5, and I was second runner-up.
No way.
Yes, and 2 years later, after that first run, I was crowned National American Miss Massachusetts Princess of 2008. That was my very first pageant title, so I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And that's where the journey began. I always knew I wanted to go to Miss America. That was the end goal, that was the dream, and so I worked really hard for almost 20 years to get to this place. So very, very long culmination and journey, but wouldn't have had it any other way.
That's beautiful. I mean, I love that. My daughter is 7 years old, so I can imagine her getting started right now.
Yeah.
Well, you had started before 7,
yeah.
So that's amazing. Wow. Can you take us back to the moment you won and what was going through your mind? Like, how were you feeling?
It's always a really nerve-wracking experience. I don't get all that nervous competing. I really enjoy being on stage. I was a dancer my whole life. I've danced for 18 years, and so I loved being on stage. But there is nothing like standing there with other girls holding hands and just waiting for names to be called. That is definitely one of the scariest experiences in the pageant. And once I was called into the top 5, they start ticking down by naming people, and you're just, eventually it's 2 girls standing there holding hands. And I knew with the top 5 that they had called, any one of us could have taken it and would have done an exceptional job. But you hope and you pray that it's you. And when they did finally call my name, it's a really surreal feeling. I dropped to my knees. I had lost it at that point.
I can't imagine. I mean, that's a very powerful moment that, wow, I made it. Yeah. I can imagine what was going through your mind. Like, it's unbelievable at that moment. So
it is. It doesn't sink in for a while either. I felt like it took me a good solid 2 weeks
type of moment
to be, really in the moment and actually realize that this was now my life and this was my job. And there's so many people out there congratulating you and supporting you and rooting for you. And it reminds you that this isn't just for you. This is for all the people who've helped you get here too.
Well, you are beautiful in and out,
Thank
and
you.
That crown looks beautiful on you. I mean, you definitely earn it.
Thank you.
Awesome. So what has been the biggest challenges you faced on your pageant journey, and how did you overcome it?
I think one of the things that a lot of young girls can relate to is self-confidence. You're putting some of the most incredible women in the state of Massachusetts on a stage together. Right. They are all beautiful and successful and talented and accomplished and intelligent. So when you put these young women together, it's hard not to compare yourself to everybody else. And I competed in Miss Massachusetts the year prior, and I was in the top 10. I had won the interview award and the gown award, but I didn't win the crown. And so there's a lot of self-reflection that comes from that. What could I have done better? What should I change? What should I keep for next year? There's a lot of that. And with that comes, am I good enough? Am I the one? Or are they ever going to pick me? All of those things that young women do to self-doubt. And that's not unique to pageants. That is the case in anything that young women do. And I think it's a really, really important message for all young women to realize that you can't be somebody else. Right. There was nothing I could have done to have been one of the other competitors. I had to be authentic to who I was. I had to be confident in that. Exactly. I had to be strong in that. And I had to outperform my last year's performance. I didn't need to outperform somebody else. And I use that mentality of, we always say in the pageant world, different day, different judges, different outcome. And that is true to everything you do.
Yeah.
I use that same analogy when I was looking for a new job, because there were some jobs that weren't for me, and there were some jobs I wasn't for. And that's really okay. The right things will find you.
That's beautiful. I love that. Right? You know, really be yourself. Right?
Right.
Trust yourself. You are who you are. You can't change that. You can change how you believe.
Exactly.
What you think about it. So I mean, that's
the
amazing.
only unique thing about you. Nobody else can be you. You can't be anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to be yourself. That's the path forward. So competing in pageants requires, again, strong mindsets.
Yes.
So how do you stay confident and resilient, especially in like tough moments when you feel like I'm going to give up?
I think preparation is key. I spoke about this throughout my year now when people ask, you know, what did you do? How did you prepare? Preparation is key. I prepared for the Miss Massachusetts competition like I was preparing for Miss America. So before that crown was placed on my head, I knew that I had done everything I needed to do in order to go to Miss America and feel my best. And that's what kept me mentally fit, so to speak, because I wasn't questioning every single move. I wasn't second guessing if I had done enough ahead of time. I was confident that I was as prepared as I possibly could be during that week. And so that definitely kept me calm. And so that's always my biggest piece of advice. Do all of the preparation prior. Make sure you're preparing like you are going to the national competition. Because then once you get there, you actually get to enjoy the week.
And you get
make
comfortable.
friends, you get comfortable, you have fun on stage, you enjoy meeting the judges in the interview. All of that becomes fun because you've done all the work ahead of time.
It makes you a stronger person. Yes. You're improving yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. Like you're really there.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. I mean, you could do that just about any industry, right?
Absolutely.
You don't have to be in a pageant. I think those are great words, what you just said. If everyone does that, they're set.
And that's the thing about pageants is they're very relatable to life. All of the life skills that we use, all of the different techniques, all of the preparation, everything is applicable to outside of the pageant world. And that's why these young women are so successful.
Well, I mean, I applaud you for working so hard. It must have not been so easy, especially at the beginning. And it's a great thing you started early.
Yes.
You really got to experience and gain the self-confidence, because I know many girls struggle with that, especially from middle school to high school. Those are the toughest moments, especially
very tough.
the self-image part.
Yes.
The confidence, it really drops, percentage-wise, really, really low. So for you to be able to actually rise from everything that you were going through, I mean, you put yourself in front of so many individuals and they were all judging you, and you still thrived. You rose to the top, which is amazing.
Thank you.
So that's great. So many people struggle with self-doubt, right? What advice would you give to those trying to build their confidence?
You can't be anybody else and nobody else can be you. I use that phrase all the time. And that means a lot of things. You want to be the best version of yourself. And so in anything you do in life, you're competing against your old self. So the girl I was when I was 13 competing in pageants is not the young woman sitting in front of you today. I had to work to improve her. I didn't have to outdo anybody else in that process. And I think that's where that jealousy and competition comes from, is everybody's outdoing each other. And that's not the goal. That's not the goal in life. That's not the goal in pageants. The goal is to become the best version of you, and whatever that means to you. So for me, I wanted to improve my speaking abilities. I wanted to improve my ability to connect with others on the job as Miss Massachusetts or anything else. So those are skills and characteristics that I had to work on myself. I didn't need to outdo anybody else or outshine anybody else to become that better version. And that's something I wish more young women knew. You know, having the body of somebody else is never going to be doable
it's not
for
going
you.
to happen.
It's not realistic. But you can improve your health and your fitness, and you can become the best body for you. And so that's the problem with comparison, is that everybody wants to be the person they see in a picture in a magazine.
Exactly.
It's never going to happen. You don't have those features. You don't have that, you know, body type. But that's a good thing, because why would you want to be a copycat of somebody else? You want to be your own person, and you want to be confident in that.
That's when you're the best person, the best version of yourself, right? You may be, you know, others may like you a lot more than that person that you think you want to become.
Exactly. And I also think we're each other's hardest critics.
We are.
That's something else I really had to work on, was, you know, never be complacent, but also realize that the hard work you put in should be recognized, and that you should be proud of yourself for that. And it doesn't have to come from outside validation. Somebody else might not know that you put all this work in and you've just made this drastic change, but you do, and you should give yourself credit for that. That's something I still to this day have to work on, is realizing that, you know, I've made transitions, I've done a lot of things that have improved myself for me, and I have to be proud of that. You know, at some point we have to say, okay, we've done some great work, let's appreciate that.
Congratulate, appreciate, and notice that, you know, who you were at age 13 and who you are now is very different, right?
Absolutely.
You've progressed a lot in life.
Yes.
Which is great. So what has been the most valuable lesson you've learned about yourself through like this whole experience?
I'm a people person. I've learned that. And I don't mean that in the sense that I'm a people pleaser. I mean that in the sense that, and it's something that people have told me, which is how I've recognized it. And now it's one of my favorite qualities, is that I can go into a room and have a conversation with somebody and make them feel appreciated. And that was one of the biggest gifts I think I've gotten out of this, is that there's a lot of value in that. Being able to connect with individuals, and this is a difficult job, because you are connecting with people as young as 2 or 3 and as old as 80 or 90. And so there's a wide range of a demographic that we're working with here. But the ability to make somebody feel heard or seen or appreciated is indescribable. And the fact that so many individuals have told me that this year, that means more to me than anything else.
You're already making a huge impact.
It means the world that somebody appreciated the time that I spent, and I appreciate the time that I've spent. I can't tell you how many incredible individuals I've met this year, hearing their stories, allowing them to share with me, but also learning something from what they had to share. Those are things that you can't put on paper. Those are things that you can't categorize or count, but they mean more to me than anything else I've gotten out of this year.
That's beautifully said. I couldn't have said it any better.
Thank you.
Seriously. I know title holders often champion a cause. What's your platform and why is it important to you?
So my platform is Redefining Dyslexia, Turning Challenges Into Superpowers. I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was just 10 years old. And at the time I was reading at a 2nd grade level. I was in 5th grade. So I was not reading really. I was memorizing what I could and trying to get by. And unfortunately, my teachers didn't pick up on it until I was in 5th grade. And I went through rigorous testing. I had been given multiple different diagnoses, that none of which were dyslexia. I was told I had a reading comprehension disorder. I was told I had a tracking problem. And, you know, time after time, I did all this testing and I still wasn't getting to the root cause of the problem. And I have to give all of the credit to my parents, because I was so young. They eventually figured out and did enough research to say, are you trying to say she's dyslexic? And at the time, schools weren't diagnosing dyslexia. Doctors were diagnosing dyslexia. Things have changed over the years. We've made so much progress. We've learned so much about the diagnosis, but I was in fact dyslexic. And if it wasn't for the school Linda Mood Bell that I attended, I would still be unable to read. I was so grateful that my parents did all this research, sought out Linda Mood Bell, and was able to get me into their program, where they took me from reading at a 2nd grade level to reading at a 10th grade level.
Wow.
And so I entered middle school. I did a whole summer with them, and I entered middle school above my classmates. And
that quickly?
Yes, and it was unbelievable, but it also took a lot of hard work, and I think that's the piece that people forget about. You know, being in 5th grade, going into 6th grade, I gave up my entire summer to go to school and to make sure that I wasn't going to enter middle school at a disadvantage.
Right.
And so that's one of the things, you know, I think people forget about is how much work these students are doing to overcome this thing that they have had since birth, maybe. And so it's not easy. It's definitely difficult. It was really hard for me. There were days I came home crying, but there was never a day that I didn't want to do it because I knew how beneficial it would be for me. And I'm so, so grateful that I had parents and family and friends that were supportive of that because it has completely and utterly changed my life. Now I even read books for fun, which is something I never thought that I would do. But, you know, I'm so grateful I was able to go to college. I was able to be an honor student. All of these things changed because I went to this school.
You can't read.
If you can't read, you really can't do much in life.
Right.
And there's so many people who have found a way to compensate for themselves, which I applaud them on. They find a way to get through the day. But to not have that cure is difficult. Dyslexia doesn't have a cure. So being able to go to a school that really figured out how to help me was unbelievable and really did change my life.
I mean, yeah, I can absolutely imagine that.
Yeah.
And kudos to your parents for really doing the research and pushing through and figuring out how to get you to that next level. And then, of course, to you for spending your whole summer to just get ahead to middle school.
They were the real advocates, 100%. They were the original advocates, and now that I'm in this position where I have a platform and a voice, I just want to use it to educate other parents and students on what I went through and what, you know, they can get out
There's
of
hope.
Things.
There's
Exactly.
things you
There
can do.
is hope, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how do you use your voice to create change in your community?
So one of the things that I've done is visit the school that I went to. So Nora Oliver is an international company, but there are lots of schools here in Massachusetts, and so I've been able to visit with some of the students, have Q&As with them, read to them, which is something I never thought I'd do. I never thought that I would read to a group of young students who I once was. And it's the most surreal feeling in the world to be able to do that, because there was a time where reading out loud was the scariest thing in the world for me. And now it's something that I can do with ease. And so being able to speak with those students and show them that I was once sitting where you're sitting right now. I know exactly what you're feeling. I know maybe you're, you know, ashamed or embarrassed or nervous or scared. You can overcome that. It will never go away. Dyslexia is not curable. It will never fully go away, but you will find the tools to be successful and live with it. And that's what I've done. And so it's a beautiful thing to be able to talk to those kids and explain to them that they too can follow their dreams, accomplish what they want to accomplish despite the diagnosis they've been given. And so that, it means the world to me. I've been so fortunate to then partner with that school in Nora Oliver and speak about them on a national level. I spoke about them at Miss America. And you know, it's incredible being able to give back to somebody who gave so much to me. I'm very fortunate for them and all the work that they put into me. So to be able to spread their message, their name, and what they do has been the ultimate dream this year. I've also gone to the State House and spoken with Governor Maura Healey about changes that I think can be made, and applauding them on the changes they've made thus far. Massachusetts is a leader in that industry and in that department, so I applaud them on all the work they've done and all the work they're trying to do to make change across the nation. That's really, really important.
Absolutely. Wow. I mean, I'm impressed with so much you already accomplished. You were just crowned last year.
Yes.
Not, it hasn't even been a year yet.
About 10 months.
And you've already made so much progress in your community. I mean, that's great.
Thank you.
I love that. So what do you think is the biggest challenge facing the young women today? Like, for example, how can we empower them to really rise above the struggles that they're facing right now?
I think young women, as I said, it's comparison. Young women are struggling with comparison. Young women are struggling with, I don't like to say social media because I think social media is such a powerful tool when it's used properly.
Yes.
But I do think that when you're really young, you don't necessarily know how to take in all the information you're being given, and so it becomes overwhelming. And so I do think that recognizing that what you see on social media may not be the entire story is really important. It's a highlight reel. It's a glimpse of the greatest moments. It is not always the most realistic tool to understand what others' lives look like. And I've tried my best this year to promote the authenticity piece. So I love to show waking up in the morning, or what I look like changing in my car, trying to get to the next appearance, and how frantic it is, and the things that are behind the scenes, because I think it's so important to see that. Not every young woman understands that, this picture perfect person doesn't actually live a picture perfect life.
It doesn't exist.
It's not
it really
real.
doesn't. It's a new image.
Exactly. Everybody has their own struggles. And so if you can grasp that concept of, I'm seeing the best part of this person's life, you have a better understanding of your life is good too. Your, experiences are important too. And if you were to show a highlight reel of your life, somebody else would probably be jealous as well.
Exactly.
So that's a really important thing for young women to understand. And I wish more young women would know that. And that's why I try so hard to show the difference between what I look like getting up in the morning and what I look like sitting at an appearance, because there is a difference.
It's a big difference, absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
Yep. I mean, I feel like the parents and the children need to communicate a lot more on that sense, because there's a lot that goes on, and we have new hormones. As you get a teenager and older, you're forming. Not just mentally but physically. There's a lot that's changing. So there's a lot going on as a teenager itself.
Absolutely.
So definitely a lot that can be done on that. How do you balance your responsibilities as Miss Massachusetts with your personal and professional life?
It is not easy. This is a hard job. And it's one I would not trade for the world, but I am not unaware of the fact that it's a struggle. And I think what you don't see, and what a lot of people don't see, are the people behind the scenes who do so much to make it possible for us to do this job while still keeping personal and professional lives. So I have an incredible business manager, and she is the one who communicates to set up appearances and make sure I'm where I need to be and in what I need to wear. My mother has been unbelievably helpful in having outfits prepared for me, and supporting me and chaperoning me. And so there are so many people behind the scenes that help us do what we need to get done in a day. But a lot of it does fall on us, and it's important to manage your time well. I think that is the biggest takeaway from this year. If I wasn't organized before, I am organized now. I always considered myself an organized person, but wow, keeping a schedule, keeping a calendar, holding yourself accountable is important too, because the easiest thing to do is come home from a really long day and say, I'll get dinner with a friend next week. But next week's gonna roll around and you're gonna be just as tired and stressed. So I really, really value the time I get to spend as Kiersten, spending time with friends, spending time with family, doing things that make me happy. And so no matter how tired I am, I still wanna go and I still wanna do them. And that's been huge as well. Holding myself accountable to that is important.
That's great. I mean, it can be difficult. And you were just especially when you were just crowned. I bet people were just coming to you, for appearances or, other items as well to be part of. So that's got to be hard. But it sounds like you've got it all figured out.
Maybe it sounds that way. I'm doing my best. It's never perfect.
Again, we're talking about the reality versus
what
the
appearance. Exactly. So I do my best, and I'm fortunate I have people to help me when things slip through the cracks.
That's amazing. That's great. So what's next for you?
So I am so excited to continue working with the organizations that I've built relationships with this year. I know that a lot of people think when the crown comes off, the work stops, and that's just not true. So I am very, very grateful that I'm going to be able to continue the advocacy work that I've been doing this year with Redefining Dyslexia as Kiersten, not just as Miss Massachusetts. So I'm very excited to continue.
That's amazing. I love that. And you've already done so much, and it hasn't even been a year, but you accomplished a lot with working with organizations. And like you said earlier, you love the fact that others are coming to you and they look up to you, and you have this ability to actually help and support them. And then working with the school as well. I mean, that alone, I feel like that's a lot that you're doing. So congratulations on that, and thank you for supporting our communities. I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being an advocate. If you could leave one message with our viewers about living life to the fullest, what would it be?
I would say chase every dream. I was a little girl when I came up with this idea that I wanted to walk the Miss America stage. And who would have thought that almost 20 years later, I'd actually do it. It sounds insane to me thinking now that I held on to this thing for so long. Most people probably would have said, it's been 10 years, I'm gonna give up, or I'm grown now, I'm gonna move on to something else. And I didn't. I knew that I wanted to do this, and not that it's my life's purpose, but it was definitely a passion that I had that was undying.
It was a dream. It was a dream. You had a dream.
And you know, for me, it was just, I knew it was something I wanted to do. I knew that I could do it. And the belief I had carried me through all those years of not getting there. And so I'm so grateful that I did, and I'm so grateful that I had people who encouraged me to keep pursuing it. A lot of people probably would have said, Kiersten, enough's enough, give up.
Right.
But I didn't, and I didn't have anybody say that to me. I had nothing but support, and I know that's rare, and I'm so grateful for that. But keep chasing your dreams, because it doesn't matter if it takes you 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. You can achieve them.
It's still your dream. It's in there. Keep going until you actually achieve it, and you know
you'll be so grateful you did.
Exactly. You'll appreciate that. You'll thank yourself in the future, like that saying. Your future self will thank you.
Well, thank you. Exactly.
Yes. So, Kiersten, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. Not just your story, but your heart. I love what you're doing, and I love the big impact that you have made. I think it's beautiful. So, keep doing what you're doing, because it's amazing, and I can see you thriving even more and rising even more to the top and making a bigger impact. So, I really appreciate having you here. So, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about myself.
Amazing. And to all of you watching, remember, life has no limits when you lead with purpose, passion, and a mindset ready to grow. If you feel lost, stuck, or need guidance in life, reach out to 781-888-5354 or visit noraoliver.com and schedule a free consultation. I'm Nora Oliver, and this has been Life Unlimited. Until next time, keep believing in yourself and keep creating the life you deserve. Thank you.